Good afternoon. My name is Susan and I'm with CFPB Events Management Team. I want to go over some logistics before we begin. If you are having any issues with your audio, please click the audio button near the bottom of the middle of your screen. There you have the option, have the WebEx platform to dial your telephone number so you can receive the audio for this WebEx presentation. The closed captioning link is available in the chat box to the bottom lower right. Please open the chat box if you would like the closed captioning link. During this event, if you have any technical issues, please send me a message in the chat box to the right of your screen. And if you have any questions, we're doing questions and answers at the end of this webinar presentation, so please put all your questions in the chat box. And I will now turn this over to Heather Brown.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it so much. Welcome, everybody. My name is Heather Brown, and I'm the CFPB Financial Education Exchange Program Lead. And our WebEx hosts today are Susan Funk with help from Tracy Wade and Isabel Bailey. I want to thank them for all they do because the technical challenges are probably the hardest part of this, and it's so nice to have their support. We appreciate you joining this CFPB FinEx webinar on CFPB resources for service members and veterans. This webinar is scheduled to run from 2 to 3 p.m. I'd like to take a minute and introduce you to our speakers today. Before I do, I'm going to switch back over there, and there we go, get my notes up so you can see the names of those that will be speaking. First, we're going to have Tony Camilli, and Tony is a policy analyst and outreach specialist for the CFPB. He's been with CFPB for 6 years. Tony served on active duty for more than 7 years as a judge advocate in the Air Force JAG Corps. Tony continues to serve in the Air Force Reserve, where he holds the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. We'd like to welcome Tony. And Michelle Glass is the program manager for CFPB's Misadventures in Money Management, and we call it MiMM, and you can find it at www.mimm.gov, and she'll show you the link to that later. But she manages the program. She's an expert in gamification, and that is what she's going to talk to you about today in her presentation, the gamification program that we have for service members, ROTC personnel, and even veterans sometimes take advantage of it. She brings a wealth of knowledge based on her years of service in the nonprofit community, helping veterans and their family members resolve financial issues. Michelle began teaching financial literacy after inventing an educational finance board game and card game under her own company, which she sold to a consumer credit counseling service in 2007. She's been with the Bureau for 6 years as well, and she is also an Army veteran. So a warm welcome to both Tony and Michelle. And I have a few preliminary slides that I need to cover before we hand it over to them. First, our standard disclaimer. This presentation is being made by a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau representative. We have 3 representatives today. It does not constitute legal interpretation, guidance, or any advice of the Bureau. Any opinions or views stated by the presenter are the presenter's own and may not represent the Bureau's views. The inclusion of links and references to third-party sites does not necessarily reflect the Bureau's endorsement of third-party sites. I don't believe there are any third-party sites in this deck, so we don't have to be too concerned with that. And also, we just like to make people aware that this document is in use for a live discussion, and as such, people that you might hand it off to that haven't seen the discussion, it might not get the full expression of the entirety of the contents. I just like to go over our mission quickly. I know many of you already heard it, but there's always new people on the line. The CFPB regulates the offering and provision of consumer financial products and services under federal consumer financial laws and educates and empowers consumers to make better informed financial decisions. I also like to call your attention to our coronavirus page. It may look just slightly different at this right now because we've just made some changes, but this actual URL, this link will get you straight to that page. And we have lots of information, and it can be a one-stop shop because we also link to CDC and the White House and other HHS, I believe, other prominent HUD, other prominent websites that provide information on how to cope with issues related to coronavirus, and for us specifically, financial issues. And this is our landing page for our adult education page, and you can actually see the link below there. And you're welcome to visit that, look at past webinars. On the right, in the middle of the column, it says email address, sign up. If you're not already receiving the announcements for these webinars on your own, if you go to that page and enter your email, you'll automatically start receiving all of the resources that we provide. And it's normally about 2 to 3 a month. We have a few extra because we're getting a lot more announcements around the coronavirus, but I think most people value those and it's good information, so they don't mind. At any rate, you can always unsubscribe at any time. So if you're not a member, I encourage you to join. At the very bottom on the right of that screen print, you can see Join Financial Education Discussion Group. That's our LinkedIn page. And if you join that, you're free to post announcements and things as you'd like. We just ask that you try to limit, any hard selling. We don't mind if you post a webinar or something that you may be charging a little for, but just to remember that we're trying to make sure that all financial practitioners have access, and some don't have, huge budgets for those kinds of things. So that's our landing page and the information on where to join. I'll also have these links at the end of the presentation as well. Here they are now. And actually, I may have to come back to this page if you need it, but I will do that at the end. Okay. So that's all of the items that I wanted to share with you. Next, we're going to have Tony Kamali present on the new Your Money, Your Goals Service Members Companion Guide. Tony, are you all set?
Hi, Heather. I think that I am all set. Thank you very much.
Okay, I need to hand that. Yes, let me hand that control over to you real quick and get you going.
Wonderful. Well, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today to talk a little bit about some resources for the military population that we have developed at the Office of Servicemember Affairs. So I wish I could share with you a photograph or I wish I could run the video in the background, but we've been having some bandwidth issues. So the official position is we're preserving bandwidth. And the unofficial position on my part is that I haven't had a haircut in 6 months. And so I'm afraid of what I might look like on camera. So that being said, Heather, I think your mic might be on yet, just FYI. Here is the agenda for the things that we're going to cover today. And I have the pleasure and the privilege to talk to you a little bit about the Office of Servicemember Affairs, where Michelle and I both work, and talk a little about the work of the office itself. And then I'm going to transition over to Your Money, Your Goals and our brand new companion guide called Focus on Military Communities, and talk to you a little bit about what companion guides are and how it fits in to the Your Money, Your Goals suite of products. Then I get to turn over to my colleague and buddy, Michelle, to talk about Misadventures in Money Management. You don't want to miss anything about that, because Misadventures in Money Management is, frankly, probably our best product we've ever built in Servicemember Affairs. And so it's really been, Michelle's spent a lot of time and energy in making it better and constantly re-engineering it and making it more useful to our stakeholders. So that being said, a little bit about the Office of Servicemember Affairs. So for some people have been around a while, probably have heard of us, know what we do. But for the uninitiated, I'd just like to sort of summarize. We kind of have three major tasks, or what we like to call missions. We are, after all, a military serving organization. So mission number one is that we have, and these missions are laid out by Congress, by the way. We didn't just make these up. As laid out by the law that created the Office of Servicemember Affairs, our first mission is financial education. So we try to help military families, military service members, and dependents, and pretty much the community in which those people live and work, overcome their unique financial challenges. And we try to do that through creating educational resources. What you see on the screen are just some sample some images from some of the consumer-facing resources we have created. And what the goal here is education and empowerment to help military consumers, whether they're in the military, whether they're a veteran, or whether they're in the family or in the community. And so, that's the primary goal. And we do that through a number of ways. The brochures, of course, are one, but webinars like this, presentations, town hall events at military installations, or other ways we do that. And the great thing about this stuff is that everything you see available, everything we create at the Bureau is all available for free for all consumers to order at that website right there on the screen. If you happen to work in a community where you serve either military consumers or just ordinary Americans and need content and need materials in order to try and help serve your population, all of that is available at that website right there, free of charge. And it's this is all stuff that's accurate. It's heavily vetted. And of course, since we're a government agency, we've got nothing to sell you. All right. So moving on to our next mission. So our second mission in Service Member Affairs is to monitor complaints from consumers, from military consumers. And so for those of you who know the Bureau well, we receive complaints on all sorts of financial products and services. And inside of our little team of Service Member Affairs, we have people dedicated and focused to monitoring the complaints we receive from the military population. And we review every single complaint we get from military consumers. And we're reviewing them for a number of reasons, really. But the primary reason we're looking is to try and find patterns or practices or trends. Because sometimes those things lead to discoveries of problems in the marketplace. And the Bureau is trying to seek out and root out those problems and correct those problems before they blow up into be something bigger. So historically, we tend to get the most complaints from the veteran population. Makes sense because veterans comprise about almost 10 times the size of the military, those in uniform population, excuse me. And most of our complaints come from where we have the largest veterans living. Those are the Sunshine States of California and Texas and Florida. And historically, our largest category of complaints has been debt collection. But the past couple of years, credit and consumer reporting have been the highest volume of complaints we've received from military consumers. So our third sort of mission in Service Member Affairs is to coordinate with other agencies. We're required by law to coordinate with other federal, state, and even local government agencies sometimes on consumer protection measures. And so some of the ways we've done that in the past is we highlight problems about student loan servicing for deployed service members, and that's something we raised to the Department of Education. We worked with the Department of Defense to make policy changes to make sure that troops are not getting solicited to buy stuff through a process known as an allotment, which is kind of an antiquated way of purchasing things that the military still has available to them. We often provide technical assistance to agencies like the Department of Defense or the Federal Trade Commission. We've partnered with the Department of Veterans Affairs and the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, for example. We've done co-authoring of blogs. All of this goes towards the larger mission here of coordination with other agencies on consumer protection measures. So that's kind of a rundown of the Office of Service Member Affairs. And at this point, I'm going to transition over to Your Money, Your Goals, which is really what we're here to talk about most. So, Your Money, Your Goals is one of the Bureau's signature financial education and empowerment products. It's been around for quite a few years now. And really, this is a whole set of empowerment materials for organizations that want to help people meet their financial goals by increasing their knowledge and their skills and their resources. So whether you're helping someone get a job or helping them find a place to live or helping them deal with a legal problem, money always tends to come up. And so the tools that are inside of Your Money, Your Goals and our new Focus on Military Communities companion guide, the tools are designed to help you start the conversation, to help figure out how to help someone who, in this case, a military consumer, whether they're in the military or a veteran, figure out what steps to take next and to come up with actionable steps to complete. So one of our Your Money, Your Goals tools are the companion guides themselves. The companion guides support the main toolkit, as we call it, by helping to contextualize the money conversation to meet the unique needs of specific populations. We also have companion guides that are focused on Native communities, as well as on people with disabilities. And today what I'm going to do is preview a few of the specialized tools and handouts that we created as part of the Your Money, Your Goals Focus on Military Communities companion guide. So next slide here. This is a little bit of background about how the toolkit is organized. It has 9 modules, and the goal here is to improve outcomes of people to make them more financially empowered. The toolkit is not really a curriculum that people have to follow. The idea behind the toolkit is to provide the right content and the right tools at the right time. So when people who work in social service organizations or people that have clients are meeting with them, they can reach into this toolkit and find a tool or find a module that really kind of addresses the situation that they are encountering at that moment with that particular client. The goal here is, again, is the right content, right tools at the right time. And inside the main body of the toolkit, there are 43 different handouts and tools. And I'm going to show you some of those, show you the layout of those right now. I apologize that this is a little bit of like an eye chart, but this is just showing modules 1 through 5 in the introduction and the various tools or handouts there. And then over here, this is the modules 6 through 9 of the main toolkit and all the various tools and handouts there. And I'm going to try and get through the eye chart as fast as possible here and kind of get into the more of the meat. So inside the toolkit, each module begins with the section called At a Glance. And the idea here is it kind of tells you right up front, here's what's in this module. These are the tools, these are the handouts that are included at the end of this module. So for example, here in the toolkit, module 1 is about setting goals. And at a glance, these are the tools and handouts that are available to you for sort of trying to get help on this particular topic. So when you one thing I want to note here is that we use the words tool and handout aren't really used much in the toolkit itself. In fact, they do not appear, what I've been told, at all, as the words do not appear. Instead, we use iconography, or icons, as it's often called, to indicate whether something's a tool or a handout. You can see the one is on the left side there is the tool, and on the right side is what a handout looks like. So inside the modules themselves, inside the modules themselves, we have a what's inside section. This is the last part of the content section before the tools and the handouts show up. And this section provides a short explanation of the purpose of tool and handout. It also provides guidelines for what tools to use, depending on how much time you have to dedicate to the financial empowerment topics during your appointment. I see there's some questions coming into the chat. I'm going to try and address those, I think, towards the end, but I will get to them. So inside the modules themselves, one other thing we'd like to share is that each tool then begins with a getting started section, which is intended to provide whether the caseworker or the person who's serving the client with information to read before using the tool with them. The getting started page offers background context for the tool. There's also a what to do section with brief instructions. And then at the end of it, there's called a step further section with suggestions on what someone could tackle next after completing this tool. At the bottom of every one of the getting started pages, you'll see a link here that is highlighted or circled in red to show you where you can download the tool by itself. And the great thing about all our tools is they are all compliant with under 508 of the Rehab Act. And so all the tools allow they all have alternate text, and they're all fillable in a PDF format. So you can go to that website, you can download the tool, and you can use it on the spot. And that's it, located on each one of those. All right, next I'm going to transition over to a little bit about the tools and handouts that we created for the Focus on Military Communities Companion Guide. So we have created 18 new different tools and handouts that are designed specifically for the military population. And the idea here is we wanted to create tools that complemented the main toolkit, but tools that are really specific to the military. For example, if you're buying a home and you want to use a VA home loan, that's something that's not available to the general population. So that's not really covered in the main toolkit. So we wanted to create a special handout about VA home loans explaining how to use them. So that's showing there of slide. That slide shows modules 1 through 5. And the next one here are the tools and handouts for modules 6 through 9. And I'm not going to read through those because they'll be in the slide deck that everyone will be able to see after the webinar. And then I'm just going to, at this point here, I'm just going to talk a little bit about, or I'm going to give you a preview, some of the specific tools and handouts we created just for the military and veteran population. So this first one is actually, I would say, important for anyone, not just service members or veterans, but it's called Planning for Important Money Conversations. And as we all know, anybody that works in this population or in this community knows, conversations about money can be stressful. They can be difficult. The conversations may involve important life decisions, life events. They involve talking about values, about goals. And so preparing in advance to have these conversations can often lead to more informed or more productive conversations, especially when it's involving family. So in this, we created a tool to kind of focus people in the military community about, here's some money conversations that you might want to consider having with the client. And so then what might be a little hard to see here, but we have sort of a fillable box in here to say, like, here's the conversation. What do you need to have this conversation? Do you think you should? And then that's in the second middle column, like what your decision is. And then in the third column is like, what are action steps that you think you need to take then? So you put a check to those conversations you think you need to have if you're working with a client who needs to have those conversations, and then write down what the next steps are under action steps, which is the third column. The next one, slide is going to pull up a preview of our VA home loans handout. So we have tools in the companion guide, but we also have handouts. And this is a handout specifically focused on the VA home loans. And so tools are designed to be interactive and to be useful between the social services representative and the client. Whereas the handouts are supposed to be, they're more asymmetrical in the sense they're just providing one-way information, but so that you can hand that to the client to give them more information about a specific piece of information that might be relevant to their lives. So this is an example of one of the many handouts we created. This one's focused on VA home loans. And so this has basic information in it, but it also has some very, very more detailed information that I couldn't capture here in the screenshot. But also, like I said, more detailed information about not just what is a VA home loan, but how do you actually, what's the process like that you have to go through to get a VA home loan versus a traditional home loan. So on the next slide here, here is a handout that we created about teaching people in the military how to understand their military pay statement. I will tell you, in my experience, having served in the military now for over 20 years, I've never received an explanation of my military pay statement in over 20 years of time that I've been in the military. It was just sort of assumed that the pay statement came to me, and I was kind of left my own devices to figure out what everything was. The good news is that the Department of Defense created some handouts to try and explain this to the troops, how to read their military pay statement. The bad news is that we looked at this and we didn't think it was done very well, and we thought there was a better way to do it. We thought we could maybe try to simplify it a little bit. So this is just one handout that we created that for people who have military clients, they can give this handout or show it to their clients to say, here, if you ever have any questions about your pay statement, just take a look at this quick little front and back handout. It'll explain to you kind of what all the details are in all those various boxes. All right, next one I'm going to go over to is our spending tracker. So, you know, in module 4 of the military communities companion guide, we have a spending tracker. As anyone who works in this field knows, budgeting and controlling your spending or monitoring your spending or tracking it is very important. And so this is a kind of a tool we created, and this one's not necessarily groundbreaking because a lot of our we already have a spending tracker inside the main toolkit. But we kind of wanted to, what we did is we created separate categories that are kind of focused on the types of expenses or secondary income that people in the military might have or veterans might have that you wouldn't have normally in the normal population. So for example, can't really see it here in this screenshot, but for veterans who happen to receive disability compensation from the VA, that's an income item. And so in the income section, we have a line item for that if you're collecting a disability check from the VA. Or for you know, for service members, one area they have to spend money that other people in the normal population don't are on uniform items. You know, that's a regular expense that people in the military have to spend money on to keep up with. And for those who are more seasoned and know that, you know, in the military, some people get a regular uniform allowance and some people don't. So there's a tracking of income if you get a uniform allowance. Then there's also a tracking of expenditure. If you don't get a uniform allowance, you need to buy uniform equipment. All right, I'm going to move on here to the next one. And I think this is our last sample of one of the tools. So, you know, there's a special law out there called the SCRA, or the Servicemember Civil Relief Act. And in that particular law, there is a benefit that's provided by law to the troops that says if you have a loan that you took out prior to the start of your active duty service, you can ask the lender to lower the interest rate, no matter what the interest rate is, down to a maximum of 6%. And it's not optional. Actually, it's mandatory. It's required of lenders. If they receive a notification from somebody who had some loans, then went in the military, the key is you had the loans before you entered service, and then you went into active military service, and that can mean somebody who's active duty or somebody who even just is in the Guard or Reserve and gets activated for more than 30 days at a time. You can send a letter, and we created a template letter here for troops, for people to send this to their lenders to say, hey, it's fillable. You can fill in your name and address, the lender's name and address, and it has all the information pre-filled in. All you got to say is when you went on active duty and where you are assigned at, and then you can send the letter off to your lenders to get that request for 6% reduction of all of your outstanding loans that are that happened pre-service. So the goal here today was to give you kind of a flavor for the different types of handouts and tools we created in the new Your Money, Your Goals Focus on Military Communities Companion Guide. Having said that, as my final slide here, I just want to alert you to the website. Your Money, Your Goals has its own landing page at the Bureau's main website. And when you get to the site, there's so much material here available to you. I didn't want to try and cover it all because I thought it was too much. But the important thing is you can download the toolkits, you can download individual tools and handouts, you can download companion guides for special populations like I talked about today. There's also booklets that can help enable you to have the money conversation with your clients or whoever it is you're serving. And then most importantly, I think, is there's links to order print copies, because as I said, everywhere you go on that website, you'll have the ability to click on a link to take you to our warehouse ordering system, where you can order print copies and have them sent anywhere you want, free of charge, in mass quantities for you and your colleagues or even your clients to have available to them. All right, I just want to check in real quick with my team here on the webinar to ask, should I address questions now, or should I save them to the end of the webinar?
Let's save them till the end of the webinar, just to make sure that we can give Tony all the time, Michelle all the time she needs, and then we'll just do them all together, if that's okay with you.
That sounds wonderful. Okay, and then at this point, then I am happy to turn over the slides and the controller to my colleague Michelle, who's going to talk about misadventures in money management.
Thank you, Tony. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Glass, and I'm very excited to talk to you about misadventures in money management. Just want to make sure my slide changed over. Did that change for you, Tony and Heather?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, Misadventures in Money Management, as Tony had mentioned before, it is our office's flagship online education tool. It's designed to immerse service members in a real-life financial scenarios like marriage, deployment, permanent change of station, and any consequence of various financial choices that they make in a choose-your-own-adventure format. And it offers that interactive training on topics like building their savings, avoiding impulse purchases, learning how debt will impact a military career, and of course, protections under the Servicemember Civil Relief Act. But one thing that I want to make clear is that Misadventures does not take the place of your current programs. We want to enforce to you that MiMM is a supplemental tool that you can use in addition to your current program that you offer to service member populations. It was designed to be just enough, just-in-time training so that you could assign a character or you can assign an activity related to what they come to you to talk about. So if one of their questions is they're looking at a contract about an auto loan, well, you could address that by saying, in addition to the things that we talked about today, I would recommend that you take the cruise character, which talks about sales tactics and the best way to research buying a car. So it'll supplement the things that you're already doing and just provide them with additional information where we're going to cover some of those consumer protections related to services and products. Now, why is MiMM important to service members? Well, we know that dealing with financial issues can be stressful and it can be confusing. And while most of us know that we need to plan ahead to take action on certain things, learning about financial issues, it's hard, but especially if you're in the field training or if you're deployed thousands of miles from home in a combat zone, or if you're PCSing with a family. Military life can be very challenging, but MiMM was designed to help service members, young service members, overcome those. And some of the financial topics and scenarios that are covered by MiMM were developed to address those top financial challenges that service members face, such as dealing with debt collectors, or cell phone expenses, or looking at cell phone plans, credit card debt, some of the things that Tony had mentioned earlier, and of course, buying a car, because that's a lot of the things that young service members do after they leave their basic training and their initial training. They get to their first duty station, and then the first thing they want to do is buy a car. So one of the things that we show in Misadventures is the characters. So each of the characters goes through different scenarios, and it's up to the participant who's taking the course to make those financial choices for that character. And then when they're choosing their way through the course, they'll get an outcome that's either a positive, very good outcome, like in this example where Maya has over $16,000 built in her savings, or if they make different choices, then Maya could have a negative balance indicating that she's made some purchases on her credit card. So that's some of the things that we talk about. In addition, this is James, our character, which talks about making sure that you're making the right choices and spending money on the right things, and that you're not being influenced by peer pressure. So that's where you will see the program format in this graphic novel format. And I'll talk about a little bit later all the different formats that we've designed the course. This is your mission map. So the goal is to complete all the character origin stories, clear all the obstacles, and build your team so that you can defeat financial chaos, which you see on the screen in the back. Once you've completed all 6 characters, then at that time you'll be eligible to get your certificate of completion. But to get started, you must first go through a self-selection process. So on this screen, this shows you that Misadventures is available to all different audience members, meaning people who haven't even gone into the military yet. Maybe they've talked with a recruiter and they've signed a contract to go into the military, so they're in the delayed entry program. the program is available for them. Maybe they're in high school and they're in the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps. Well, the program is available for them as well. ROTC, active duty, National Guard, Reserve, and now we've also have the program available for the service member families and their dependents. So we're very excited to offer this to a variety of audiences. But does MiMM work? Well, we've gotten over 40,000 service members who have shown dramatic improvement over MiMM. 90% of those who have taken the program and completed the entire program have shown knowledge improvement in one or more topics once they're finished. And one of the things we'd love to share with you is that MiMM has won multiple awards for its gamification experience, for how things have been set up. We've won the Communicator Award, and we've also appeared in Training Magazine. We do have classroom activities available for Misadventures in Money Management. As you can see on the screen, we have all types of different activities that can be used for you to assign to your participants who come to you. Or if you have teachers in the junior ROTC or ROTC, they can use these as well. We have student activities and teacher guides, and this is an example of one for Angela, where it's showing how Angela built her credit. So you can assign this as a group format for the classroom, or it can be assigned as individual homework. And then once the participant completes the information, they can immediately send you their certificate of completion to show that they've finished the entire MiMM program, and that's built into the program. All they have to do is have an email address, and they can send that to their PFM, to their counselor, or to their commanding officer. Remember earlier I was talking about MiMM being versatile and very flexible. Well, what we've done here is MiMM is able to show the content in different formats. One of the things that our younger audiences, like our folks that are in the delayed entry and junior ROTC, they love that graphic novel format. So all of their character content is in that graphic novel format for them to read like a comic book and go through the scenarios that way. And they do have video outcomes to show exactly what happens to that character. But we learned with our older audience, those who are reaching their first duty station, they're around 23, 24 years old, they said, you know what, Michelle, we love this format, but we'd rather have it all video so we don't have to read. And we said, okay, we will take that note and we will make some changes. So we now have the live action, which is none of the reading, it's just someone's acting out the entire thing, and you still choose the different pathways that the character will take, but it's an actual actors that are doing those scenarios. And then another version we have is a combination of both. It is the actual graphic novel, and the actor who portrays that, they will read the story to you in a storybook format. So you can get a variety of experiences as you actually take the MiMM course, which is very exciting. So it's not only giving them the content that they need, but we're delivering the content in the format that they want. Now, this I'm excited about because we just recently launched some new features on Misadventures in Money Management. So if you look up here on the screen, you'll see the leaderboard. We've had that before, where the services compete with each other to see, how many people have finished the course before others, such as, have the Marines completed it more than the Coast Guard, or is the Coast Guard's completion scores higher than the Marines? So we have that on a leaderboard. When you look at the mission progress, I showed you that before, of defeating financial chaos, that lets you know where you are in that process. But one of the new things we have is the updates to the certificate of completion. Now you have the ability to show your score on the certificate of completion or not show your score. And the reason we add that is because our audience asked us to. The folks that are in ROTC and JROTC, they need to show their score to their instructors. So we have a feature when they get ready to type in the teacher's name to send their certificate, they can actually say, I want to show my score. However, when we talked to our active duty personnel, they said, no, we just want to show our commanders that we finished it. We don't want to show them any score. So that's why we put that option on there. A second thing that we've done is many of you are familiar with our financial well-being survey. Well, we've incorporated the financial well-being survey into Misadventures in Money Management. So once you have completed all 6 of the characters, you will then get the financial well-being questions. And it's, of course, shown in a gamified format where you are basically trying to rescue one of your team members from a monster that has captured them. And it's your ability, you have to basically break them out of a tube so that they can be free. And once you answer those financial well-being questions, not only do you get extra characters that are not normally in your view here, you can view those additional characters if you like, but you also then get your financial well-being score and you get access to your certificate of completion. So that's a new feature that we've added. And then in addition to that, we've also added some short little questions about where you are on the military life cycle. So if you are an active duty person and you take this, once you complete at least one of the characters, we will ask you where you are in the military life cycle. And then we'll follow that up by asking you if any life events have happened to you, such as have you gotten married, or have you had a child, or have you been injured, something like that. And the reason we're asking those questions is because we want to make sure that we are crafting the courses related to who needs it. So, depending upon where they are in the military life cycle and what challenges they're facing, we want to make sure we have content that speaks to those things. And then finally, the last button here, which is share. This is something we just added, and it's for those people that we get that send us information about how much they love MiMM. Well, now you can share it with a friend. So that's just a cute little button we added to help us out by having people share the experience with friends or family members that they think should also use the tool. If you want to try it out for yourself, you can go to MiMM.gov. And if you are a service member family or a dependent, you can go to MiMM.gov/family. And then if you want to reach anyone on the Office of Servicemember Affairs team, you can email us at military@cfpb.gov, or you can go to our website at the URL listed above. And now at this time, I believe we want to open it up for question and answer. Is that correct, Heather?
That is correct. And we did have a couple of questions come in for Tony. I'm sure there are some in the process of coming in for you as well now. Tony, did you have a chance to review those, or do you want me to read them out to you?
Hi, I can take those. I think I'm okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. So Janet asks the question here, are there problems that specifically target military surviving spouses? And I would say to that, I don't have any data on that specifically, but one thing I'll note is that military surviving spouses, and this is true of people in the military as well as not in the military, surviving spouses sometimes, and especially in the military, often have access to enhanced benefits or enhanced resources, financial resources. And so anyone who has kind of a windfall financially, whether it's proceeds from a life insurance policy or access to a regular pension check, is always going to be a target in some way in the financial marketplace. And I can share that we have seen that at the Bureau. We, in fact, have taken official enforcement actions against some of these purveyors or predators who are going after pensions of people, specifically pensioners, military pensioners, as well as veteran pensioners. So yeah, there are problems that target surviving spouses for the reasons that I just discussed. And another question, actually there's a comment about no one explaining military pay to us. Yep, that, like I said, 20 years, I don't think I ever saw any explanation of that in my entire time. And there's also a question here, when will the recording be available? I'll leave that to my other colleagues. I think it's pretty closely after. But I think C. De Leon, if you want to send this recording to some veterans that couldn't attend, I would also encourage you to order copies of our new Focus on Military Communities Companion Guide and send to those veterans. Like I said, it's free of charge. All they really need is their address, where to send things to. So you can access that on the landing page that I have there in the slides. I think that's all I got, Heather.
Okay, thank you. I think we also have a question that came, and somebody just asked for a slide to reshow. Let me just peek at it. From Y. Norton, will you please reshow the previous slide that provided points of contact? There you go. Thank you. And regarding the questions, I did answer the questions about the slides and being notified when the recording's up. We're actually working on a batch of those, and we're planning to get up several of them that are sort of backlogged because of some other priorities that took precedent. But as soon as those are up, we're going to send a note to the subscriber list. Hopefully we'll be able to do, a few of them at a time, but at least we'll notify you when the new recordings are up, and those will be the recordings, the slide, the transcript. So those are available. If you urgently need the slides now, for some reason, feel free to just email either the box that you see up there or the CFPB FinEx box, and we'll be glad to take care of that for you. Let's see if any other questions came in. I don't think they did. Make sure I didn't want to miss anything. Okay, I think that's everything. If there's no further questions, we're going to wrap up. I want to give again a special thank you to our presenters, Michelle and Tony, for the great information. Every time I see your presentations, I learn something new. So I'm sure everyone else and some of the people have already commented that they find it very valuable. And thank you for our team, our events team as well, for making this a success and working through challenges. Let's see. No, I just got another private message. Okay, I think that's everything. So I appreciate everybody coming. We had a good audience today, and we have a couple of webinars coming up in March as well. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for your emails as we get those finalized. And everybody take care and have a good rest of your week and a good weekend.